The salvage yard on Kepler Station buzzed with the usual morning chaos. Marcus Chen wiped grease from his weathered hands as he examined the twisted remains of a Vorthan transport ship. The crash had happened 3 cycles ago, but the insurance investigators were still picking through the wreckage like vultures. A soft whimpering caught his attention from behind a pile of scrap metal. Marcus frowned and followed the sound, stepping carefully over scattered debris. What he found made his heart skip a beat. A small Vorthan child, no more than 8 standard years old, sat huddled against a broken engine housing. The youngling's left arm ended abruptly at the elbow, wrapped in crude medical bandages that had seen better days. Pale blue skin marked with intricate silver patterns identified the child as nobility, but the torn clothing and haunted eyes told a different story. "Hey there, little one," Marcus said softly, crouching down to the child's level. He kept his voice gentle, knowing how intimidating humans could appear to other species. "What's your name?" The youngling looked up with large violet eyes filled with fear and pain. "Zethka," came the whispered reply in accented standard. "Please, don't tell them where I am." Marcus glanced around the salvage yard, his protective instincts kicking in. The Vorthan Empire was known for its rigid caste system and harsh treatment of those deemed imperfect. A noble child with a disability would face exile or worse. "Nobody's going to hurt you here," Marcus assured the youngling. He noticed how Zethka struggled to adjust position with only one arm, the simple movement requiring tremendous effort. "Are you hungry? I've got some nutrient packets that should work for your species." Zethka nodded hesitantly. Marcus retrieved food and water from his workshop, watching as the child ate with desperate hunger. It was clear Zethka had been surviving in the salvage yard for days, possibly since the crash. As Zethka finished eating, Marcus studied the child's missing limb. The amputation was clean, suggesting surgical removal rather than trauma. Someone had deliberately removed the arm, likely due to injury or infection. The thought made Marcus's jaw clench with anger. "Zethka," Marcus said carefully, "that arm of yours, how did you lose it?" The youngling's eyes filled with tears. "Bone rot disease. Father said I brought shame to our house. When the transport crashed, I ran. I can't go back. I'm broken." Marcus felt a familiar fire ignite in his chest. He had seen too many beings cast aside by societies that valued perfection over compassion. But humans understood something that many species didn't. That broken things could be fixed, made stronger, made better. "Kid, let me tell you something about humans," Marcus said, settling more comfortably on the ground. "We're pretty good at fixing broken things. In fact, some of us think broken things that get put back together are the most beautiful things in the universe." Zethka looked puzzled. "But I am incomplete, worthless." "Worthless?" Marcus laughed gently. "You survived a transport crash, evaded search parties, and have been living by your wits in a salvage yard for days. Sounds pretty remarkable to me." He stood up and walked to his workshop area, returning with a tablet displaying holographic schematics. "I've been working on something in my spare time. Prosthetic limbs for various species. Haven't had a chance to test the Vorthan design yet." Zethka's eyes widened as Marcus showed detailed blueprints for an artificial arm. The design incorporated Vorthan physiological requirements while adding enhanced strength and dexterity features. "You would make this for me?" Zethka whispered. "Better than that," Marcus grinned. "I'm going to teach you how to help build it." Every person should understand how their equipment works. Over the next several hours, Marcus began gathering materials. His workshop was well stocked with components salvaged from various wrecks. Vorthan technology was particularly elegant, using bioneural interfaces that could integrate seamlessly with organic nervous systems. As they worked, Zethka proved to be remarkably intelligent and curious. The youngling asked insightful questions about human engineering principles and shared knowledge of Vorthan biotechnology. Marcus found himself impressed by the child's quick grasp of complex concepts. "On my world," Zethka explained while helping sort microcircuits, "they say humans are crude builders. That you force metal to obey rather than asking it to dance." Marcus chuckled. "Maybe we do things differently, but crude? I don't think so. We just believe that if something's broken, you fix it. If someone needs help, you help them. It's not complicated." The afternoon sun began to set as Marcus made the first neural connection points. The prosthetic would need to be calibrated precisely to Zethka's unique nervous system. It was delicate work that required both technical skill and artistic intuition. "Will it hurt?" Zethka asked, watching Marcus prepare the interface components. "A little at first," Marcus admitted honestly. "But pain means you're alive, kid. And sometimes it means you're getting stronger." As darkness fell over Kepler Station, Marcus completed the basic framework. The prosthetic arm gleamed under the workshop lights, its design elegantly blending human engineering with Vorthan aesthetics. Tomorrow they would begin the complex process of neural integration. Zethka stared at the artificial limb with wonder. "It's beautiful. It's functional," Marcus corrected gently. "Beauty comes from what you do with it." The youngling curled up in a corner of the workshop, exhausted from the day's work. Marcus provided blankets and made sure Zethka was comfortable before settling down himself. He had no idea that their actions that day had set in motion events that would soon bring the attention of the most powerful being in the Vorthan Empire. In the quiet darkness of the salvage yard, two unlikely friends rested while somewhere in the depths of space, urgent messages raced toward the Vorthan homeworld. A lost prince had been found, and his circumstances would soon test the very foundations of an ancient civilization. Marcus woke before dawn to find Zethka already examining the prosthetic arm components. The youngling had arranged the pieces in perfect order, clearly having studied them throughout the night. "Couldn't sleep either?" Marcus asked, stretching his back. "I dreamed of having two arms again," Zethka replied quietly. "Then I woke up and remembered it might actually happen." Marcus smiled and began preparing his tools. Today would be the most challenging part, creating the neural interface that would allow Zethka's nervous system to control the prosthetic naturally. It required precise measurements and careful calibration. "Hold still," Marcus instructed as he used scanners to map Zethka's remaining neural pathways. The readings appeared on his tablet, showing the complex network of signals that once controlled the missing limb. What Marcus discovered amazed him. Despite the amputation, Zethka's neural pathways remained remarkably intact. The youngling's brain still sent signals to the missing arm, creating phantom sensations that could be redirected to control the prosthetic. "Your nervous system is incredibly adaptable," Marcus explained as he worked, "much more so than human physiology. This interface is going to work better than I hoped." Zethka watched intently as Marcus fabricated the neural connectors. The human's hands moved with practiced precision, shaping components with tools that seemed crude but produced incredibly fine results. "How did you learn to do this?" Zethka asked. Marcus paused in his work. "I lost my leg in a mining accident when I was about your age. The company doctors said I'd never walk normally again, but my father was an engineer. He said if they wouldn't fix me properly, he'd do it himself." The youngling's eyes widened. "Did it work?" "Better than the original," Marcus grinned, tapping his left leg. The dull metallic sound revealed it was artificial. "Dad taught me that humans don't accept impossible. We just find another way." As the morning progressed, Marcus began the delicate process of fitting the prosthetic to Zethka's residual limb. The interface required microsurgical precision to connect with nerve endings. Marcus worked with steady concentration, occasionally asking Zethka to flex specific muscles to test connections. "I feel something," Zethka gasped as the first neural link activated. "It's like my arm is waking up," Marcus grinned. "That's exactly what it's doing. Your brain is remembering how to talk to your arm." The calibration process took hours. Each connection had to be tested and adjusted until the prosthetic responded naturally to Zethka's thoughts. Marcus watched in satisfaction as the artificial fingers began moving in response to the youngling's mental commands. "Try picking up that small wrench," Marcus suggested. Zethka concentrated, and the prosthetic hand slowly closed around the tool. The youngling's face lit up with pure joy as artificial fingers gripped the wrench with perfect control. "I can feel it," Zethka whispered in amazement. "I can actually feel the metal against my fingers." "Tactile feedback," Marcus explained proudly. "The prosthetic translates pressure and texture into signals your brain can understand. It's not quite like biological touch, but close enough." They spent the afternoon testing the prosthetic's capabilities. The artificial arm possessed enhanced strength and precision compared to biological Vorthan limbs. Zethka could easily lift objects that would have been impossible with the original arm. "This is incredible," Zethka said, flexing the artificial fingers with growing confidence. But why would you create something so advanced for a stranger? Marcus set down his tools and looked directly at the youngling. Because that's what humans do. We help, we build, we fix things that are broken. Your society threw you away because you weren't perfect anymore. To us that just means you needed better engineering. Zethka was quiet for a long moment. On Vorthan Prime they teach that humans are barbaric, that you solve everything with violence and crude technology. Maybe we're not as elegant as your people, Marcus admitted, but we don't abandon our young. We don't cast out those who need help. If that makes us barbaric, I'll wear that label proudly. As evening approached, Marcus made final adjustments to the prosthetics programming. The artificial arm now moved with fluid grace, indistinguishable from natural movement except for its enhanced capabilities. There's something else, Marcus said, pulling up a schematic on his tablet. I've added some features your original arm didn't have. Enhanced grip strength, built-in tools, and electromagnetic sensors. Think of it as an upgrade rather than a replacement. Zethka experimented with the new features, marveling at the prosthetic's versatility. A panel on the forearm opened to reveal miniature tools perfectly suited for delicate work. The sensors could detect electromagnetic fields and analyze material compositions. This is better than any technology I've seen, Zethka said with wonder. Human engineering isn't about being perfect from the start, Marcus explained. It's about constant improvement, making things better than they were before. The youngling suddenly became very still. Marcus, what will I do now? I cannot return to my family. They have already declared me dead to preserve their honor. Marcus had been thinking about that very question. Well, you could stay here if you want. I could use an assistant who understands both human and Vorthan technology. Plus, someone needs to help me test future prosthetic designs. Hope flickered in Zethka's violet eyes. You would truly accept me? Kid, you've got more courage and intelligence than most adults I know. Any family would be lucky to have you. As night fell, Zethka practiced using the prosthetic for everyday tasks. The artificial arm performed flawlessly, responding to thoughts as naturally as the original limb had. Marcus felt deep satisfaction watching the youngling's confidence return. Neither of them noticed the sleek Vorthan scout ship that had entered Kepler Station's sensor range. Aboard that vessel, anxious crew members analyzed readings that confirmed their long search was nearly over. The lost prince lived, and tomorrow would bring consequences neither human nor Vorthan could fully anticipate. In the quiet workshop, Marcus and Zethka shared a simple meal, unaware that their peaceful evening was the calm before a storm that would shake the foundations of interstellar diplomacy. The alarm klaxons woke Marcus from deep sleep. Red warning lights bathed the salvage yard as Kepler Station's defense grid activated. Through his workshop windows, Marcus could see massive Vorthan warships materializing from hyperspace, their crystalline hulls gleaming like deadly jewels against the starfield. Zethka, Marcus called urgently, but the youngling was already awake, staring at the approaching fleet with terror in violet eyes. They found me, Zethka whispered, instinctively moving the prosthetic arm behind the natural one. I should run again. No running, Marcus said firmly. We face whatever comes together. Station security broadcasts echoed through the corridors, demanding that all residents remain in their quarters while the Vorthan fleet was granted emergency docking privileges. Marcus counted at least 12 capital ships, an enormous show of force for retrieving one lost child. A heavy pounding on the workshop door made them both freeze. Open by order of His Imperial Majesty, Monarch Sectar of the Vorthan Empire, a commanding voice demanded in perfect standard. Marcus looked at Zethka, who had gone completely pale. Your father is the Emperor? I never said I was just nobility, Zethka admitted quietly. I am Prince Zethka, third heir to the Crystal Throne. But that doesn't matter anymore. I am broken, cast out. The pounding intensified. Marcus straightened his shoulders and walked to the door. Whatever happened next, he wouldn't let them take Zethka without a fight. The door slid open to reveal 6 Vorthan Imperial guards in elaborate armor, their energy weapons drawn. Behind them stood a figure that commanded immediate respect, even from a stubborn human engineer. Monarch Sectar was massive for a Vorthan, nearly 3 meters tall with silver-traced skin that seemed to shimmer with inner light. Ancient ceremonial robes flowed around his imposing frame, and his violet eyes held the weight of absolute authority. This was a being accustomed to having entire star systems bow before him. Human. The monarch's voice resonated with power. Return my son immediately. Marcus stepped forward, placing himself between the Emperor and Zethka. With respect, Your Majesty, your son is not property to be returned. He's a person who makes his own choices. The Imperial Guards raised their weapons, but Sektar gestured for them to stand down. His eyes narrowed as he studied Marcus with calculating intelligence. You dare lecture me about my own offspring? Sektar demanded. You know nothing of Vorthon law or honor. The youngling is damaged, incomplete. He has no place in our society. Maybe that says more about your society than about him, Marcus replied steadily. Behind Marcus, Zethka stirred. Father, I mean Your Majesty. The youngling's voice shook but held surprising strength. I choose to remain here. Sektar's expression shifted from anger to confusion as he noticed something unusual about his son's posture. Zethka, show me your arms. The young prince hesitated, then slowly brought both arms into view. The prosthetic moved with perfect natural grace, its advanced design obvious even at a glance. The Emperor's eyes widened in shock. In Vorthon culture, artificial limbs were crude medical necessities, clumsy attachments that marked the bearer as permanently disabled. What he saw defied everything he understood about prosthetic technology. How is this possible? Sektar whispered, stepping closer. The neural integration, the fluid movement. This surpasses our finest bioengineers, Marcus spoke up. Human engineering, Your Majesty. We believe that broken things can be made better than new. Zethka flexed the prosthetic fingers, demonstrating the enhanced capabilities Marcus had built in. The Emperor watched in fascination as his son lifted heavy tools with ease and manipulated delicate components with impossible precision. This arm is superior to my original, Zethka said quietly. Marcus gave me back more than I lost. Sektar turned his attention to Marcus, studying the human with new respect. You created this for my son? What payment do you demand? No payment, Marcus replied. I did it because it needed doing. The concept seemed to confuse the Emperor. In Vorthon society, every action carried obligation and debt. The idea of helping without expectation of reward was foreign to him. All things have price, Sektar insisted. Name your terms. Marcus glanced at Zethka, then back at the Emperor. If you want to pay me, Your Majesty, change your laws. Stop throwing away people just because they don't meet some artificial standard of perfection. The Imperial Guards shifted uncomfortably at Marcus's boldness, but Sektar raised a hand to keep them calm. The Emperor circled Marcus slowly, like a predator evaluating prey. You speak of changing laws that have governed our empire for millennia, Sektar said. You presume to understand our culture better than we do ourselves. I understand that your culture nearly cost you a remarkable son, Marcus replied. Zethka survived a transport crash, lived by his wits for days, and learned advanced engineering concepts in hours. Those aren't the qualities of someone broken. They're the qualities of someone extraordinary. Zethka stepped forward, his artificial hand steady. Father, the human speaks truth. I am not the weak prince who left Vorthon Prime. I am stronger now, more capable. Marcus showed me that disability is simply a design challenge waiting for an engineering solution. The Emperor was quiet for a long moment, studying his son with new eyes. Marcus could see the internal struggle playing across the monarch's features. Ancient traditions warred with paternal love and growing understanding. Show me, Sektar commanded suddenly. Show me how this human technology works. Marcus led the Emperor to his workshop, explaining the prosthetic's design and capabilities. Sektar proved surprisingly knowledgeable about bio-neural interfaces, asking technical questions that pushed Marcus to explain increasingly complex concepts. The other Vorthons watched in amazement as their Emperor engaged in detailed engineering discussions with a human salvage worker. It was unprecedented behavior for someone of Sektar's status. Your people's approach is crude but effective, the Emperor admitted grudgingly. You force solutions rather than seeking elegant harmony with natural law. Sometimes force is needed, Marcus replied. Sometimes you have to break things down completely before you can build them up better. The implications of that statement hung heavy in the air as Sektar contemplated centuries of Vorthon tradition. Emperor Sektar spent hours examining the prosthetic's design, his questions becoming increasingly technical and philosophical. Marcus found himself explaining not just how the device worked, but why humans approached engineering problems differently than other species. Your method seems chaotic, the Emperor observed, watching Marcus demonstrate the arm's enhanced capabilities. No systematic planning, no adherence to established principles. Yet the results are better than anything your systematic approach produced, Marcus finished. Sometimes chaos is just creativity that looks messy from the outside. Zethka had grown more confident as the conversation progressed. The young prince now spoke freely about his experiences, describing how Marcus had taught him to see his amputation as an opportunity rather than a limitation. The human showed me something our tutors never taught, Zethka told his father. He showed me that strength comes from adapting to challenges, not from avoiding them. One of the Imperial Guards, a stern female named Vekra, stepped forward hesitantly. Your Majesty, forgive the interruption, but the Council of Lords grows restless. They demand to know why we negotiate with a human salvage worker, instead of simply reclaiming the prince. Sektar's expression darkened. Marcus sensed political undercurrents he didn't fully understand but recognized the dangerous shift in atmosphere. The Council believes my son should be quietly eliminated to preserve imperial honor, the Emperor said bluntly. They see his condition as a stain on the royal bloodline. Marcus felt cold anger wash over him. They want to kill a child because he's not perfect? Vorthon's succession law is absolute, Sektar explained. No imperfect heir may inherit the throne. The Council views Zethka as a liability that threatens imperial stability. Then change the law, Marcus said simply. Several guards gasped at his audacity, even suggesting changes to succession law bordered on treason in Vorthon society. You do not understand, Vekra protested. These laws have governed our empire for 10,000 years. They cannot simply be discarded. Why not? Marcus challenged. If they're wrong, change them. If they're hurting people, fix them. That's what rational beings do. Emperor Sektar studied Marcus with growing fascination. Your species truly believes that any system can be modified? Any system can be improved, Marcus corrected. The key is being willing to admit when something isn't working. Zethka spoke up, his voice stronger than before. Father, the prosthetic proves that perceived weaknesses can become advantages. Perhaps the same is true for our laws. The Emperor was quiet for several minutes, clearly wrestling with concepts that challenged everything he had been taught. Marcus waited, recognizing the internal battle of someone forced to reconsider fundamental beliefs. The Council will never accept such changes, Sektar finally said. They would view it as capitulation to human influence. Then don't tell them it's human influence, Marcus suggested. Tell them it's Vorthon innovation inspired by necessity. A communication device on Vekra's armor chimed urgently. She activated it, and an authoritative voice filled the workshop. Your Majesty, this is Lord Commander Telsen. The Council has voted. The damaged prince must be terminated immediately to preserve imperial honor. We have landing teams standing by. The workshop fell silent. Marcus could see pain flicker across Sektar's features as political reality crashed against paternal instinct. Tell the Council I am still evaluating the situation, the Emperor replied carefully. With respect, Your Majesty, evaluation time has expired. The decision is final. The communication ended, leaving everyone staring at each other in tense silence. Marcus stepped protectively in front of Zethka, his mind racing through possible escape plans. I will not let them harm my son, Sektar said quietly, but with absolute conviction. Yet I cannot simply defy the Council without cause. It would spark civil war. Then give them a cause they can't ignore, Marcus suggested. Show them that Zethka isn't damaged. Show them he's enhanced. The Emperor looked puzzled. How? Marcus grinned. Challenge them. In your culture, trial by combat still settles disputes, right? Let Zethka face their champion. When he wins with his enhanced capabilities, they'll have to acknowledge that their precious laws are obsolete. Absolutely not, Sektar said firmly. I will not risk my son's life on such a gamble. You're not gambling, Marcus insisted. You're investing in his future. That prosthetic gives Zethka advantages no natural warrior can match. Enhanced strength, faster reflexes, tactical sensors. He can't lose. Zethka stepped forward, surprising everyone. I accept the challenge. Son, no, Sektar protested. Father, Marcus is right. I am not the weak prince the Council remembers. Let me prove it. The young prince demonstrated the prosthetic's combat capabilities. moving with fluid grace that combined natural Vorthan agility with enhanced mechanical precision. The artificial arm could strike with bone-crushing force or manipulate objects with surgical delicacy. "The combat protocols I programmed are defensive," Marcus explained to Sektar. "They'll help Zethka protect himself, but they won't turn him into a mindless weapon." Emperor Sektar watched his son practice combat forms, noting how seamlessly the prosthetic integrated with natural movement. Slowly, a smile spread across the monarch's features. "The council expects to face a crippled youngling," Sektar mused. "Instead, they will encounter a warrior enhanced beyond their imagination." "More than that," Marcus added. "They'll face living proof that their entire worldview is wrong, that what they see as weakness can become strength with the right approach." Zethka paused in his practice, artificial fingers flexing with controlled power. "When do we issue the challenge?" "Now," his father replied with growing confidence, "before they can launch their termination mission." The Emperor activated his personal communicator, broadcasting on the frequency reserved for imperial proclamations. His voice carried the weight of absolute authority as it reached every ship in the fleet. "Citizens of the Vorthan Empire, I invoke the ancient right of trial by combat. My son, Prince Zethka, challenges any who question his worthiness to claim his place in the imperial succession. Let the council send their champion to face him in honorable battle." The response was immediate chaos. Multiple voices erupted from the communicator as shocked council members demanded explanations. Marcus grinned at the pandemonium. Sometimes the best way to fix a broken system was to break it a little more first. The arena aboard the flagship Eternal Dominion had been hastily prepared for the trial by combat. Ancient Vorthan tradition demanded that such challenges take place before witnesses, and Emperor Sektar had insisted on full ceremony. Representatives from every major house packed the viewing galleries, their murmurs of anticipation echoing through the crystalline chamber. Marcus stood beside Zethka in the preparation area, making final adjustments to the prosthetic's combat protocols. The young prince appeared calm, but Marcus could see tension in his shoulders. "Remember what we practiced," Marcus said quietly. "The arm's enhanced reflexes will kick in automatically during combat, but you need to trust them. Don't overthink the movements." Zethka flexed the artificial fingers, watching servos respond with perfect precision. "I still can't believe Father agreed to this." "Your father is smarter than his council gives him credit for," Marcus replied. "He knows you're going to win." Through the arena's viewing portals, they could see the council's chosen champion warming up on the opposite side. Telvor was a legendary warrior, undefeated in 23 formal duels. His massive frame and battle-scarred hide spoke of decades spent perfecting the art of combat. "He's enormous," Zethka observed with some concern. "Size means nothing if you're faster," Marcus reminded him. "That prosthetic processes combat data faster than biological reflexes. He'll see his moves before he makes them." Emperor Sektar entered the preparation chamber wearing the formal robes of judgment. His expression was unreadable, but Marcus caught a flicker of worry in the monarch's violet eyes. "The council has accepted the challenge," Sektar announced. "Telvor will represent their position. If he wins—" The Emperor's voice trailed off. "He won't win," Zethka said with surprising confidence. "Marcus has shown me that human engineering doesn't accept defeat." The arena's chimes sounded, signaling the beginning of the trial. Marcus clasped Zethka's natural shoulder as they prepared to enter the combat chamber. "One last thing," Marcus said. "Fight smart, not hard. Let Telvor exhaust himself against your defenses. Then strike when he's vulnerable." The arena floor was a circle of polished crystal 50 meters across, surrounded by energy barriers that would contain the combat. Ancient weapon racks lined the walls, offering traditional Vorthan blades for the combatants' use. Telvor entered first, his heavy footsteps echoing through the chamber. He selected a massive two-handed sword, testing its weight with practiced swings. The crowd murmured approval at his obvious confidence. Zethka followed, moving with fluid grace that drew surprised gasps from the spectators. Many had expected to see a crippled youngling struggling with crude prosthetics. Instead, they witnessed a warrior whose artificial limb moved with impossible smoothness. "Citizens of the Empire," Emperor Sektar's voice boomed through the arena's speakers. "Witness this trial by combat. Let truth be revealed through honorable battle." Telvor sneered as he studied his opponent. "Surrender now, young prince, and I will grant you a quick death." I appreciate the offer, Zethka replied calmly, selecting a lighter blade suited to his enhanced reflexes. But I must decline. The combat began with Telvor's aggressive charge. His massive sword swept in deadly arcs, each strike capable of cleaving a normal opponent in half. But Zethka was no longer normal. The prosthetic's combat sensors analyzed Telvor's attack patterns in microseconds, feeding tactical data directly to Zethka's enhanced reflexes. The young prince flowed around the veteran warrior's strikes like water, never quite where the blade fell. Marcus watched with pride as his engineering performed flawlessly. The artificial arm moved with inhuman precision, parrying strikes that would have overwhelmed biological reflexes. Zethka's counterattacks came at impossible angles, forcing Telvor to constantly adjust his defense. What sorcery is this? Telvor demanded as another strike passed harmlessly through empty air. No sorcery, Zethka replied, his artificial hand gripping the sword with enhanced strength. Just superior technology. The crowd fell silent as they witnessed something unprecedented. Telvor, the undefeated champion, was being systematically outmatched by a supposedly crippled prince. Every attack failed. Every defense crumbled against Zethka's impossible precision. Marcus noticed council members leaning forward in their seats, studying the prosthetic with growing understanding. They were beginning to realize that their assumptions about disability and weakness were fundamentally flawed. Telvor's breathing became labored as the battle wore on. His massive frame, built for overwhelming power, struggled against Zethka's fluid endurance. The prosthetic never tired, never faltered, maintaining perfect performance throughout the extended combat. Yield, Zethka offered as Telvor stumbled from exhaustion. You have fought with honor. Never, Telvor gasped, raising his sword for one final desperate attack. The prosthetic's enhanced reflexes triggered automatically. Zethka's artificial hand moved faster than biological sight could follow, disarming Telvor with surgical precision. The champion's weapon flew across the arena, clattering against the far wall. Telvor collapsed to his knees, defeated but unharmed. The arena was absolutely silent as the implications of the battle sank in. Emperor Sektar rose from his throne. The trial is complete. Prince Zethka has proven his worthiness through honorable combat. Let none question his place in the imperial succession. The silence broke as voices erupted throughout the arena. Some council members protested the result, while others demanded to examine the prosthetic technology. Marcus heard fragments of heated debates about tradition, innovation, and the future of the empire. Lord Commander Telsen, leader of the opposition faction, stood slowly. His ancient features were twisted with confusion and something that might have been fear. This changes nothing, Telsen declared. Artificial enhancements are not natural Vorthan strength. The succession laws still apply. Zethka stepped forward, his artificial hand steady as he pointed at the defeated champion. Then change the laws to reflect reality. I am stronger now than I ever was before. How is that weakness? The challenge hung in the air like a blade suspended over centuries of tradition. Marcus realized they had reached the crucial moment where the Vorthan Empire would either embrace change or cling to obsolete beliefs. Emperor Sektar's next words would determine not just Zethka's fate, but the future of an entire civilization. Emperor Sektar descended from his throne with deliberate steps, his ancient robes rustling in the profound silence. Every eye in the arena followed his movement as he approached the center of the combat circle where Zethka stood victorious. You ask me to change laws that have governed our empire since before humans left their homeworld, the Emperor said, his voice carrying to every corner of the arena. You ask me to overturn traditions older than most star systems. Marcus felt his heart sink. Despite everything, despite the obvious superiority of the prosthetic, it seemed political pressure would win over logic and evidence. But Sektar continued, his voice growing stronger. You ask me to do what should have been done millennia ago. Shocked gasps echoed through the viewing galleries. Council members rose from their seats in protest, but the Emperor raised his hand for silence. I have witnessed something today that challenges everything I believed about strength and weakness, Sektar announced. My son, whom our laws declared worthless, has proven himself superior to our greatest champion. Not despite his prosthetic, but because of it. Lord Commander Telsen stepped forward, his voice shaking with rage. Your Majesty, you cannot seriously consider abandoning our most sacred traditions based on one combat trial. One combat trial? Sektar turned to face the council. I watched Telvor, undefeated for decades, fall to a youngling with an artificial arm. I observed technology that surpasses anything our greatest engineers have produced. I see living proof that our concept of perfection is not just flawed, but actively harmful. Marcus watched the political drama unfold, recognizing the careful calculations behind Sektar's words. The Emperor was building a case that the council couldn't easily dismiss. Zethka spoke up, his voice clear and confident. Honored council members, examine my prosthetic. Study its capabilities. Compare its performance to biological alternatives. Then tell me that artificial enhancement represents weakness. Several younger council members moved closer, their scientific curiosity overcoming political caution. They studied the prosthetic's design with growing amazement, asking technical questions that revealed its sophisticated engineering. The neural integration alone represents a breakthrough in biomechanical interface technology, admitted council member Yel Tha, a renowned researcher. The tactical processing capabilities exceed anything in our military arsenals. Telsen's faction began to fracture as more council members examined the evidence. It became increasingly difficult to argue that advanced technology represented disability when that technology provided obvious advantages. But the precedent, protested Lord Vektal, one of Telsen's supporters. If we accept artificial enhancements, where do we draw the line? Will we become a society of machines rather than living beings? Marcus stepped forward, knowing this was his moment to speak. Your Majesty, may I address the council's concerns? Sektar nodded. The human engineer may speak. His expertise created this marvel. Marcus looked around the arena, seeing faces that ranged from hostile to curious. Lords and ladies of the Vorthan Empire, you're asking the wrong question. You shouldn't ask whether to accept artificial enhancement. You should ask why you ever rejected it in the first place. His words carried through the chamber's excellent acoustics. Every tool you use, every ship you fly, every building you inhabit, represents artificial enhancement of natural capabilities. Your ancestors didn't reject technology when it improved their lives. Why reject medical technology that restores lost function? The logic was simple but powerful. Marcus could see minds changing as council members considered the implications. Furthermore, Marcus continued, Zethka's prosthetic isn't just medical technology. It's an evolution. A deliberate improvement over the original biological design. Your empire could lead the galaxy in enhancement technology, instead of clinging to outdated concepts of genetic purity. Emperor Sektar smiled, recognizing the strategic opportunity Marcus had identified. The human speaks wisdom. We could export this technology to other species, charging premium prices for Vorthan enhancement systems. The economic argument proved more persuasive than moral considerations. Several council members began discussing potential markets for prosthetic technology, their opposition to enhancement rapidly transforming into enthusiasm for profit. Telsen made one final desperate attempt to maintain the status quo. Your Majesty, the succession laws exist to ensure genetic stability. If we allow artificial enhancement in the royal bloodline, we compromise the purity that makes us superior to other species. Superior? Zethka's artificial hand closed into a fist. Lord Telsen, I just defeated your champion with this artificial limb. Which one of us demonstrated superiority today? The question hung in the air unanswered. Telsen's face flushed with embarrassment as the logic of the situation overwhelmed his prejudices. Emperor Sektar seized the moment. I hereby declare the succession laws amended. Artificial medical enhancement shall not disqualify any heir from imperial inheritance. Furthermore, I establish a new Imperial Research Division dedicated to advancement of prosthetic and enhancement technologies. The announcement triggered chaos in the viewing galleries. Some council members cheered the progressive decision, while others protested the abandonment of tradition. Marcus noticed that the younger generation seemed universally supportive, while opposition came primarily from older, more conservative members. Additionally, Sektar continued, raising his voice over the commotion, I name Marcus Chen as Chief Engineering Advisor to the Imperial Research Division. His expertise will guide our technological advancement. Marcus blinked in surprise. He had expected to return quietly to his salvage yard, not become part of an interstellar government. Your Majesty, Marcus said carefully. I'm honored by the offer, but I'm just a salvage worker. I don't know anything about running research divisions. You know how to solve impossible problems, Sektar replied. You know how to see potential where others see only limitation. Those are precisely the qualities this empire needs. Zethka grinned at Marcus. Besides, someone needs to help me design upgrades for this prosthetic. I have some ideas for improvements. The formal ceremony concluded with the traditional acknowledgement of combat results. Telvor, recovered from his defeat, approached Zethka with surprising grace. Your Highness, the former champion said, bowing deeply, I request permission to study your enhancement technology. Perhaps old warriors can learn new techniques. Granted, Zethka replied warmly, though I should warn you, Marcus designs his equipment to be constantly improved. You'll never stop learning. As the arena emptied, Marcus found himself standing beside the Emperor, watching Zethka demonstrate prosthetic features to fascinated council members. You have given me back my son, Sektar said quietly. But more than that, you have given the Empire a future we never imagined possible. Marcus shrugged, uncomfortable with the praise. I just fixed something that was broken. That's what humans do. Perhaps that's what everyone should do, the Emperor mused, watching his enhanced son inspire a room full of politicians to embrace change. 6 months later, the Imperial Research Complex on Vorthon Prime bustled with activity that would have been unimaginable before Zethka's trial. Engineers from a dozen species worked alongside Vorthon scientists, sharing knowledge and pushing the boundaries of prosthetic technology. Marcus stood in his new laboratory, watching test subjects learn to use advanced prosthetics based on his original design. Veterans who had lost limbs in service to the Empire now moved with enhanced capabilities that surpassed their original biology. The latest neural interface modules are performing even better than we projected, announced Dr. Yel Tha, now head of the Biomechanical Integration Department. Response time has improved by another 12%. Marcus nodded approvingly as he reviewed the test data. The prosthetics had evolved far beyond his original design, incorporating improvements suggested by users and refinements developed by the research team. Any word from the field trials? Marcus asked. Outstanding results, Yeltha replied. Enhanced soldiers are outperforming unaugmented units in every category. Military commanders are requesting expansion of the enhancement program. The door to the laboratory opened, admitting Prince Zeth-Ka, now bearing the formal title of Imperial Technology Advisor. His prosthetic had been upgraded several times, incorporating new features developed by the research division. Marcus, we need to discuss the civilian applications, Zeth-Ka said, his artificial hand manipulating a holographic display with fluid precision. Demand is exceeding our manufacturing capacity by 300%. It was a good problem to have. Prosthetic enhancement technology had proven so successful that beings throughout the galaxy were requesting Vorthon devices. The Empire's treasury swelled with licensing fees and direct sales. The Terran Federation wants to place an order for 50,000 units. Zeth-Ka continued. They're particularly interested in the enhanced strength applications for construction workers and miners. Marcus smiled. Trust humans to immediately see the practical applications beyond medical necessity. They had probably been planning enhancement programs before the technology was even available. And the Cedian Republic wants exclusive rights to underwater modifications, Yelta added. Apparently, our pressure adaptation protocols work exceptionally well in aquatic environments. The transformation of Vorthon society had been remarkable. What had begun as a desperate attempt to save one young prince had evolved into a technological revolution that was reshaping the entire galaxy. Emperor Sektar entered the laboratory, accompanied by his personal guard and several council members. The monarch's presence still commanded immediate respect, but his relationship with Marcus had evolved into something approaching friendship. Advisor Chen, Sektar greeted formally, though his eyes held warmth. I bring news from the Galactic Trade Council. Marcus set down his tools and gave the Emperor his full attention. Good news, I hope? Exceptional news. They voted to establish standardized enhancement protocols based on our technology. Every member species will adopt Vorthon prosthetic standards for interstellar commerce. The implications were staggering. Billions of beings across hundreds of worlds would soon have access to enhancement technology derived from Marcus's original design for Zethka. There's more, Zethka added with obvious excitement. The Science Academy wants to establish an institute for enhancement studies. They want you to serve as the founding director. Marcus shook his head in amazement. A year ago, I was pulling scrap metal out of wrecked ships. Now you want me to run a galactic research institute? You want someone with vision to see possibilities others miss? Sektar explained. You proved that supposed limitations can become advantages with proper engineering. The conversation was interrupted by alerts from multiple monitoring stations. Scientists throughout the laboratory stopped their work to examine incoming data streams. What's happening? Marcus asked. Dr. Yeltha's eyes widened as she studied the readings. We're receiving enhancement requests from the hegemony worlds. The species that have been rejecting galactic integration for centuries are asking for our technology. Even Emperor Sektar looked surprised. The hegemony had maintained strict isolation, viewing other species as inferior and refusing most technological exchanges. They've had several industrial accidents in their deep core mining operations. Yeltha continued reading from the transmission. Standard prosthetics can't handle the extreme conditions, but our enhanced models might allow their workers to return to productivity. Marcus felt the familiar satisfaction of solving a problem no one else could address. What kind of environmental challenges are we talking about? Extreme pressure, caustic atmospheres, radiation exposure that would kill unprotected biologicals, Yeltha listed. Basically everything that makes standard prosthetics fail. But not ours, Zethka said with pride, flexing his artificial fingers. These are built to exceed biological limitations, not just replace them. Marcus was already sketching modifications in his mind. Environmental adaptation, radiation shielding, enhanced structural integrity, all achievable with current technology. Tell the hegemony we'll design specialized units for their requirements, Marcus decided. But they have to agree to share technical data about their mining operations. We learn from every application. Sektar smiled at his advisor's response. Still thinking like an engineer, I see. Always, Marcus confirmed. Every problem teaches us something new. As the day wound down, Marcus found himself on the observation deck overlooking the research complex. Hundreds of beings worked below, developing technology that would improve lives across the galaxy. Zethka joined him at the viewing window. Do you ever regret leaving your salvage yard? Marcus considered the question carefully. Sometimes I miss the simplicity, but then I think about all the people who will have better lives because of what we built here. The technology will spread to thousands of worlds, Zethka observed. Millions of beings will benefit from enhancements based on your original design. Our design, Marcus corrected. You contributed as much to the development as I did. They stood in comfortable silence, watching the bustling activity below. Engineers tested new configurations while scientists analyzed performance data. The future of enhancement technology was being written in real time. There's something I've been meaning to ask, Zethka said eventually. Why did you really help me that first day? You could have turned me over to station security. Marcus thought back to finding a frightened youngling hiding in his salvage yard. Because that's what humans do. We help. We fix things. We make broken things whole again. Even when it's inconvenient? Especially then, Marcus smiled. The best engineering solutions usually come from the most difficult problems. Emperor Sektar approached them from behind, carrying a formal document sealed with imperial authority. The final treaty, he announced, handing the document to Marcus. Full technology sharing agreements with 47 species. Your enhancement designs will become the galactic standard within 5 years. Marcus accepted the treaty with appropriate ceremony, though he was already thinking about the next generation of improvements. There were always better ways to solve problems, better methods to explore. What's next? Zethka asked, echoing Marcus's thoughts. Whatever needs fixing, Marcus replied, looking out at the stars beyond the observation deck. The galaxy's a big place. I'm sure we'll find something. In the months that followed, Enhancement technology spread across civilized space like ripples from a stone dropped in still water. Marcus's simple act of kindness to a lost child had fundamentally changed the relationship between biological limitations and technological possibilities. The human who had once pulled scrap metal from wrecked ships now guided the technological future of dozens of species. But at its heart, the work remained the same, finding ways to make broken things better than they had ever been before. And, in research laboratories across the galaxy, beings who had once accepted their limitations as permanent fixtures began to see them as engineering challenges waiting for solutions. The age of human-inspired enhancement had begun, built on the foundation of one engineer's refusal to accept that anything was truly beyond repair.